Danny Quinn, and welcome to yet another episode of First Impressions. And on today's episode, it's Minion Overload as I review Despicable Me 3. Gru's now part of the anti-villain league along with his wife Lucy, and they're trying to capture Balthazar Brat, voiced by Trey Parker, a former child star who has now become a supervillain that was once his most famous role. However, Groot's also got to contend with his long-lost twin brother Drew, who's also voiced by Steve Carell, as well as those ever-lovable minions who have decided to leave him as they're fed up of not doing anything villainous. If that's not enough, Lucy's also trying to be a good mum to their adopted kids, Edith, Margot and Agnes. And there's a lot of shit going on this time around. Like most threequels. I really like the Despicable Me movies, largely for their funny and entertaining characters, great visual humour, imaginative world building, stunning animation, and yes, those pesky little minions as well. But I wasn't too sure what to expect from this new outing, especially as the third entry in many franchises always tends to be the point where the franchise begins to go downhill, and Despicable Me 3, unfortunately, is no exception. That's not to say that it's a bad movie. It still does a lot right with its visuals, humour, and most of its characters, but it's also a lot less focused and a lot more scattershot than previous entries, and it doesn't really offer many surprises. And I fear that it could be heading the same with certain other once good animated franchises headed. That's a scary thought, isn't it? And let's start with the film's problems, just so I can get them out of the way. For one, this movie is really overcrowded. There's a lot of subplots and many storylines going on in this outing that it does feel very overstuffed. The subplot with Lucy trying to be a good mum to the kids works well with the franchise's overarching theme of family, so I can forgive that. But my personal problem is that it feels like the writers don't really know what to do with the movie's supporting characters. The three girls, for instance, feel very underutilised in this outing, aside from brief subplots that go nowhere, and just seem to be there to give them something to do, because they don't really have that much of a role in the movie's main plot. They're just there for most of the movie's running time, and it doesn't help that some of the subplots involved in them just feel like filler that could have been cut out of the movie, such as the subplot where Agnes decides to go looking for an actual unicorn because she loves unicorns and shits. This problem also extends to the minions as well. I like these characters a lot, and I even to an extent enjoyed minions, even though I do feel like they work a lot better as supporting characters, which they most certainly are in this outing. They're not particularly happy with Gru in this outing, and most of them leave him because they're not doing anything particularly villainous. Interesting idea, but the problem is that the minions spend a good chunk of this movie wandering around aimlessly. I guess that's meant to be the joke, in that they don't realise how important Gru is to them, but these scenes, again, mostly feel like filler. And a lot of the scenes and subplots with the supporting characters do kind of bog down the movie, I think. It's the same issue I think a lot of people had with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, because some people seem to find the stuff with Rocket and Groot in that film to be tacked on. I personally didn't have that issue because that movie was at least focused on its characters, whereas this movie just doesn't focus on anything in particular, I feel. So that's my main issue with the film. I thought I'd get it out of the way first because it is a pretty big issue and the rest of the movie is overall pretty solid despite that. The film's voice cast, once again, is great. Steve Carell is fantastic as Groot. I think it's probably one of my favourite roles from him. I just love the character so much. He's such a snide jerk, but he's also got a soft, lovable side to him as well. And this time he's also playing his brother Drew, who's a lot more flamboyant and eccentric than his brother. And he kind of gets on his brother's nerves initially, but the pair do have a pretty solid dynamic together. And I like the relationship that sort of forms between these two as the movie goes on. Likewise, Kristen Wiig is great as Lucy Wilde, Groot's now wife. She continues to bring a lot of likability to the character, and she has really good chemistry with Carell. For all the problems of the film's supporting cast and characters, the main cast almost entirely makes up for those problems. The villain, played by Trey Parker, is also one of the movie's main highlights. I think the Despicable Me movies do tend to struggle with their villains. Jason Segel's Vector was kind of annoying in the first movie. Benjamin Bratt's El Macho from the second movie was just kind of weak and forgettable. Sandra Bullock's Scarlet Overkill was enjoyable but nothing outstanding. But Trey Parker's Balthazar Brat is probably the best villain we've gotten in this franchise so far. I really enjoyed the character's childlike nostalgic obsession with his glory days, the amount of gadgets and tricks he has up his sleeve, and the scenes with him and Gru make for some great entertainment. It's a really weird casting choice because if you know Trey Parker, you know he's not particularly known for family-friendly films. But he surprisingly works very well in the part. Every time he's on screen, he's brilliant. He steals the entire show for me, I think. It's still very imaginative with its humour and visuals as well. I really like the world building in these movies. It's so zany and wacky that I just find it very appealing, and this movie is no exception, especially in relation to the animation. It's so fast and full of vibrance and energy, which overall matches its sense of humour. And the humour itself is mostly quite good, even if I feel the movie relies a little too much on crudeness in places. There's still mostly a relatively good balance of humour that will appeal to kids and adults, and not too much of one or the other, although the gag rate is not quite as high or as frantic as in previous centuries. And there's still some great highlights, especially the opening sequence in the film where Brat's trying to steal his diamond and Gru's trying to stop him. There's some great music, the animation's fantastic, and the humour is mostly spot on. And the film's climax is great too, with a lot of imaginative situations, and it's still pretty funny. Overall, I would say that this movie is a slight step down from the previous centuries. It just doesn't have the same heart or underlying sweetness that made the first two films work, and it is very overstuffed with moments of filler and subplots that bog the movie down a bit. But I still think it's an enjoyable film. It's more enjoyable than Minions, and a lot of the things that made the first two movies work is still present here, thankfully. The voice acting, especially for Trey Parker as the villain, is brilliant. The animation is beautiful, vibrant, and full of energy. The humour, while not quite on the same level as the first two, is still funny. It's just that it is a rather uneven film overall, and I have to give it a strong 6 out of 10 because of that. I'd still recommend seeing it regardless, especially if you are a fan of the franchise. But I will admit, this was the first film in the official trilogy that did lose me a little bit at times. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back soon with reviews for Spider-Man Homecoming, Okja, War for the Planet of the Apes, Dunkirk, and many more. But in the meantime, feel free to leave a comment, like the video, and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I'm Danny Quinn, and I hope you have a pleasant evening.